Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good people. Yeah, you know what it is. Hard worker, scrappy, unfiltered, and sometimes unhinged football content. Hard to explain, but you know it when you see it. Doing it daily our way. I don't know what you're talking about right now. Redraft and Dynasty Fantasy Football, we got you covered. You know their defense is ranked like 31st in the NFL? NFL draft prospects and rookies? Now you know you in the right place for that.
Absolutely.
All right, then stop saying it. Then we're done. And prop bets with my man Jay Rich.
Count that money, man.
Now wipe the crust out of your eyes, get you a cup of coffee. It's time to wake your ass up with Ray G. You honestly are making absolutely no sense and you sound silly as hell. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good people. It is Wednesday, June 29th, 2022. Y'all decided to wake y'all asses up with Ray G, and for that, I appreciate you. Thank you for tapping in. Happy Wednesday. Let's get the sponsors on the screen. Prize Picks. Use the promo code WAKEUP for a 100% deposit match up to $100, dollar for dollar for first-time depositors. Me and Jay were back here, so as like the pre-show's going on, we can like talk to each other and still hear the music and shit like that. So I'm trying to like repeat the words as it's going, and I'm just butchering the entire intro in the background, and me and Jay back here laughing and stuff. But it's good to see y'all in the building, man. I see James is in the building. James, we missed you on Monday. How you doing? Good morning, James. Marlon, Eric, Dynasty, Barry, 7 Goat Rings, Lindsay, Matt, Garrison, my girl Joe, what's up? Ty in the building, Alvin Bailey, Ryan, Edward, Mike A., Lindsay Mack. It's a good group in here today. Got a lot of people. Matt Bruning in the building. What's going on, Mike? Mike, 40 Chess in the building. Jay, my wingman, my road dog, co-host. How you doing this morning, big dog?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm glad you exposed yourself because that was the first thing I was gonna say when I hopped on here. You're like, okay, you're rolling. You get the first couple lines in. I'm like, okay, so how many shows have we done? How many are we in? How long have we had the new intro? How many times did you record the intro?
I still don't know it. I still don't know it. I was butchering that shit, man.
It's your voice. We've listened to it probably hundreds of times by this point. But just hilarious, man, to see you mess up the cadence on the intros. But people don't understand though, like when I made that thing, I was dying laughing, and I know you guys all love it, but it still makes me laugh every time, especially the ending. Like the ending is just so perfect in the way that we operate, the way we do the show, the like my role, your own. It's perfect, man. But we need to make a new one soon.
Yeah,
so I think the people deserve a new intro with new scenes, new everything. So if you do want anything included in the intro, let me know on Twitter and I can definitely pull that for you. But there's definitely plans for a new intro in the future to kind of, add some new life to the show once again. So definitely excited for that. It'll be a lot of fun.
We go through those clips, man, and it's funny because people just remember funny shit that happens on the show, and there's so many things that can be added. So yes, if you have a funny moment from the show that you want in the new intro, we plan to roll that out by the start of the season, right? Like by the start of
I want to probably get it done for August. I'll probably do it this month, coming in through July. So when I'll do it around training camp, trying to get it ready for August or so. But maybe it'll just be for day one, right? Like Thursday Night Football, game 1 of the season. Yeah. Maybe that's when we'll roll out the new intro. But I'll try and get it done pretty soon, so at least we have it ready. And then, people, let me know if there's any scenes that you do want in it. We can definitely include that in there because there's tons of things that happen on this show, man. Like I can't even keep track of all of it half the time, but we can definitely include that for y'all.
Somebody raised thighs need to be. When did I show my leg?
Oh yeah, when you're showing the rocket fuel in those thighs.
Yeah,
that definitely has to be in there.
Oh, okay. We got a lot to get to. Super chats are coming. I got them favorited. We'll get to the super chats at the end of the show. Jay, my day was kind of ruined yesterday because I went from Euphoria. Mike A, this is for you. This whole bit is for you. I went from Euphoria of the Lakers potentially getting Kyrie Irving to Russell Westbrook opting in the $47 million and having to deal with that again. I still got that Lakers jersey in my closet, brand new, Mitchell & Ness Lakers jersey. I bought that for the parade last year and didn't come to fruition. But on the note of contracts, we got a big one.
Yes.
Big contract news. What happened yesterday for the people who may be living under a rock and missed it?
My guy, one of my favorite receivers in the
Yep.
NFL, finally got his money. Terry Mclaurin re-signed with the Washington Commanders for 3 years, $71 million, 53 guaranteed. So it's making him the seventh highest paid receiver in the NFL right now on a per year basis, and the sixth highest paid receiver just this offseason. There's still receivers that need extensions. You mentioned Deontay Johnson, DK Metcalf, and a few other guys who still need extensions, but Terry McLaurin finally got his money. It's interesting to see kind of where he shook out within these receivers, because obviously so many of them got tons of money. Like Diggs got new money, AJ Brown, Cooper Kupp, DeAndre Hopkins has his old money, Adams, and then Tyreek Hill, but $10 million more than DJ Moore, than Chris Godwin, who was injured, than Mike Williams. Amari Cooper's contract is old. Keenan Allen's still a $20 million deal. Brandon Cooks actually has a near $20 million deal. So, Ray, how do you feel about Terry McLaurin now that he's got his extension with Washington? Because I think the issue with that people are thinking is like, okay, it's great, he got his money, but he was always going to get his targets because he's the best receiver on his team.
Mm-hmm.
But now he has to deal with that quarterback situation, much like DJ Moore, for the next 4 years, right? And that's what we're really uncertain about, and kind of what that's going to look like over the next few years for the Washington Commanders. And we could even rope in DJ Moore in there a little bit too, to kind of compare the two.
Yeah, first of all, good for Terry McLaurin, man. A receiver that we both really like a lot. I was out ahead of my skis last season. I said some wild shit about Terry McLaurin. I was a little too excited, a little too excitable with proclaiming him a top 5 wide receiver. I think he's a top 5 talent, man. Is he going to produce like that? Hell no. It's just not going to happen with Carson Wentz in that offense. Happy for Terry McLaurin. I'm looking at ADP, Adico. We left Keep Trade Cut alone. They did not get back to us with money, so we will no longer promote their stuff. So Adico's ADP, I'm looking at where Terry McLaurin is. He's coming off the board as wide receiver 18, sandwiched in between Mike Evans and Treylon Burks, a little below Deontay Johnson, DJ Moore, Michael Pittman Jr., and Drake London. This is awesome for Terry McLaurin, his security. This also a big winner as like a byproduct of this, is fallout, is Alan Lazard. I know Terry McLaurin, there was a lot of, and I don't think any of it was like there was any basis or foundation behind it, but they talked about Green Bay being a location that they could potentially trade for Terry McLaurin. Well, that's not happening. So for right now, where we stand today on June 29th, Alan Lazard is still the wide receiver 1 for Aaron Rodgers. And, you look at just his cost of acquisition, Alan Lazard, wide receiver 55, coming off of the board, start ADP of 142, wherever the hell that is, at wide receiver 55, coming off the board behind Alec Pierce, David Bell, Michael Gallup, Kadarius Toney, Michael Thomas, George Pickens, Jahan Dotson. I mean, it may be a 1-year rental, man. I'm not out here proclaiming Alan Lazard to be the second coming of Devontae Adams, but rolling into that season, Aaron Rodgers is not. I will take the bet that Christian Watson does not lead that team in any statistical receiving category, maybe besides yards per reception. But I don't think he's leading the team in receptions, yards, touchdowns, none of that, man. Where we stand, and people are talking about Odell Beckham Jr. Even if even if he signs in Green Bay, he tore his ACL in the Super Bowl, probably not ready until like the playoff push. We're talking about we need players from weeks 1 through 13, first of all, 14 to get us to the playoffs, and then hopefully a couple of players to help us win it in our leagues. So good for Alan Lazard, right? That's another alpha type receiver off of the board that can't go to Green Bay now. As far as McLaurin, is he going to live up to that deal, live up to the contract? I don't know. I mean, Carson Wentz is better than Taylor Heineke, that's for sure, right? Like, he's better than Taylor Heineke. I don't know. I mean, like you said, he gets the targets. It's just it's the quarterback, man. It's like Allen Robinson all over again. Just horrible quarterback play. I saw this morning that Sam Howell said if he's called into action, he'll be ready. We hope that doesn't happen, but maybe, right? Where are you at with Terry McLaurin, man?
So like you mentioned, right, where the dynasty ADP is at, wide receiver 19 on Keep Trade Cut. So again, kind of same sentiment, whether you're looking at either spot in the industry. You look at guys like Jameson Williams ahead of him, Garrett Wilson, DJ Moore, Pittman. It's interesting, right? Because as much as I want to say he can move up in ADP, like, Is he getting ahead of Tyreek Hill? Probably not. Like,
You
is he
talking
getting
about
ahead of Devontae
McLaurin?
Adams? Yeah.
Yeah,
You know, like
no,
I
no.
see 3 or 4 guys he could hop. He could hop J-Mo. He could maybe hop Deontay, Garrett Wilson, DJ Moore, maybe Pittman, maybe Drake. Probably not. But after that, you're
Wait a
high
minute.
end,
Wait a
right?
minute. You're
You're
looking
high
at
end.
keep trade cut, and J-Mo's ahead of Terry McLaurin.
Yeah, he's at Terry Mclaurin
Yeah,
for now at
get
least.
off
Right?
it. Get a deco. I mean, Jamison Williams is wide receiver 26 here. I think this is more appropriate. I mean, he's damn near 10 spots behind McLaurin over here, but there goes
Yeah, I mean he's gonna fall anyways, right? But I mean, even Devontae Smith, would you rather Devontae Smith over McLaurin? I don't think so, right? He's gonna be the 2 on another offense. It will be
probably.
good, but won't be
I
really. You
probably
want
would.
Devontae Smith over McLaurin? Is that because of age, or what do
I've
you
got an
project with Devontae Smith?
unhealthy obsession with how good I think he can be. I think he's really fucking good, man. I don't know. I don't know how else to say it. Disagree, agree. I just think he's really fucking good. And I think he's gonna play really well. I like him. I like the upside on Smitty. So I'd probably take him over McLaurin. Yeah.
So would you take Bateman over McLaurin too? I feel like it's the same argument if you believe in the talent of Bateman. Well, but Ray, this is okay.
I
So
don't
this is
know.
where we need to be honest with the
I'm being
people, right?
honest. I'm being honest.
Like as much as you like Smitty, he's not going to be the one. Like he's just not. So if we project him to be in a low volume passing offense, which they're projected to be that, maybe 500 attempts for Hurts this year, which would be good. It wouldn't be spectacular, but it'd be good. Is he going to see a 20% market share over AJ Brown? I mean, that's what's tough, right? Like McLaurin's going to get his targets because they're still going to throw the ball a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Yeah,
Bateman's
yeah,
the
yeah,
same
yeah.
case, right? Bateman's the 2, right, in the pecking order because we know that Andrew's going to be the 1. And so do we want that guy over the 1 in Washington, right? The guaranteed 1, locked and loaded. And then actually they were talking about this in the comments too. What does this mean for Antonio Gibson? Do you think this bolsters that offense to where it could add value to some of these other guys, right? There's reports of B-Rob getting potentially goal line work, the ball security, all these things that B-Rob is known for out of college. And then Gibson, obviously, people project him for a big role, these types of things. So how does this bolster the offense? And then on top of that, how does this affect Jahan Dotson, right? Jahan Dotson was a guy that people were fading, going to be the wide receiver 2 in the offense, blah, blah, blah. But there was some people who did believe that McLaurin may be gone. And then you could say, okay, now McLaurin's gone. Dotson's the 1, walking into 100 targets pretty much guaranteed. But what does this mean for him now and his value kind of going forward? Because I think he was already a little bit undervalued. And I think now, if he continues to drop, well, we can talk about Gibson if you want, but I'm talking about Gibson and Dotson, right? What does this mean anything for Gibson, knowing McLaurin's going to be there? And what does this mean for Dotson's value? Because it's probably going to drop a little bit, but people were kind of already out on Dotson a little bit. They weren't really buying into him, even though we had that first round draft capital. Now with McLaurin locked in there for 4 years, basically his entire rookie contract, what does that mean for him kind of going forward?
He's a rookie wide receiver, man. I wasn't anticipating Jahan Dotson, even as a rookie, to go out there and drop 1,200, right? 1,100 receiving yards. Maybe if something were to have happened to McLaurin, maybe Dotson produced like Smitty last year, 900 yards, right? But I wasn't anticipating a 1,500 yard season out of Jahan Dotson. I'm still in on him, man. Who else do they have? It's Terry McLaurin and what else? Who else do they have? What else do they have? Logan Thomas.
Curtis Samuel's there.
Stop.
Isn't John Bates still doing things there?
Stop. I mean, I like John Bates, but he's not about to go out there and command, fucking 30% of the targets. I mean, who else do they have? They have nobody else.
So yeah, so it'd be McLaurin, Dodson, Samuel, Cam Sims, Diami Brown, right? Who could be a bit of a deep threat. Alec Erickson, Kelvin Harmon's still on the roster. Wow, but yeah, Logan Thomas, John Bates at tight end, and then you obviously got Gibson, McKissick, and B-Rob.
Speaking of Gibson, so
backs.
My man Sigmund Bloom, man. If y'all don't know who Sig is, you've been living under a rock in fantasy football for years. I mean, he's a goddamn OG. Responding to an article from The Athletic that, and in quotes, Washington selected Robinson to be a between the tackles hammer. Looked the part. Interesting to see whether Robinson or Gibson, who remains lead RB, handles goal line short yardage. Gibson's tendency for fumbles combined with Robinson's ball security and interior running could flip this. All I'll say is this, man. I've been a Gibson apologist and a Gibson truther on this show for a long time, and his value just continues to go down and down and down. I don't know what's going to happen in that Washington backfield. I still believe Gibson's the starting running back. Yes, he needs to protect the ball a little bit better. Yes, we would like to see him involved in the receiving game more. All I'll say is I don't care how you slice it, man. Like the things that have happened don't like encourage you. It doesn't make you excited for what's about to happen, right? Like I'm not saying it's death sentence for Gibson. I'm not saying any of that. But when you and then let's go back to it, right? Like Gibson wasn't a first round pick, bro. He wasn't a second
No,
round pick.
he was a third
He
round
was a
pick too.
third round pick, just like Antonio Gibson. So they don't have a ton of money locked up in them. We'll see. All I'll know is adding running backs, getting J.D. McKissic back, adding Brian Robinson, and Gibson's ball security issues, them not using him in the receiving game. Those aren't good things. Like those aren't things that make me feel confident about his role potentially moving forward. The value's tanking. I still like him, man. Like I still like him. He's going as RB18. I mean, we've talked about this so much. That's just where I'm at. That's just my personal opinion. I still think he's the guy, but it wouldn't shock me if Brian Robinson is like a goal line. Would it be just out of fucking left field if Brian Robinson's the guy on goal lines? I mean, he's 6'2", 230. Like, would it shock you, right? Like if you turn on the games and they get inside the 3 and then Brian Robinson's in the backfield or short yardage, would it shock you? No. I don't, what does that mean? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I want to see what happens with them, actually, because I think Gibson's fumbles are a little bit unfair, right? Like in his first season, he only fumbled once on 200 touches, but last year he did fumble 6 times, right? But we have seen guys clean up fumbles before. You just sometimes guys have bad years. They're a little bit loose with the ball. So I will say I think it's not like it's a multi-year thing. We're not talking about Daniel Jones's fumble issues where he's fumbling consecutive seasons multiple times, right? It's a 1-year thing, and it's 1 of 2, which is a little concerning. So if it happens again this year, I could see it being a problem. But if he's secure with the ball, he may be just fine, right? He did have 258 carries last year, 1,000 yards. So we'll see. But I think your concerns and the concerns being brought up about B-Rob are fair, right? Like he may get some short yardage work, some goal line work, and that's the most important work in fantasy football. We don't bank on touchdowns, but they're damn nice when you're scoring them, right? And if you're taking those away from somebody, it significantly caps their ceiling. And we've seen between the 20s runners all the time, and they're just not as valuable as the goal line guys, even though the goal line guys only get limited work.
And here's the thing, man. This is I'm not, Jay. We don't claim to be some analytical gurus, for me, this is just me. Y'all are listening to it. This is just me. I just use fucking common football sense, man. Like everything isn't fantasy football. Like from a team perspective, if an NFL organization running a team, it behooves teams to have multiple guys that have specific skill sets
100%.
And to utilize multiple backs that can help their team win. And sometimes those things don't align with what we want and what we desire for fantasy outcomes. But a lot of times what I see is people just have this one-track fucking mind. Like, fantasy, this is exactly what it has to be. He's been good for 2 years. They cycle through backs, man. That's what NFL teams do. They cycle through these running backs. They get additional players in to help their teams win. They don't care about the rushing share and that's what we do, man. Like sometimes football doesn't have to be complicated. You got 3 good backs, we're gonna play all 3 of them. They give our team the best chance to win. Gibson's good at this. J.D. McKissic's good at that. Brian Robinson's good at this one thing. And again, a lot of times when that happens, that does not align with what we want in this fantasy space. But again, what do we always preach on this show, man? Like, I pride myself in this show and what we do on not being one-track minded and only looking at things one way, in our way, because we don't know. We have no damn clue. We're guessing, we're using and if you're going to make a guess, if you're going to make a bet, the bet that I'm willing to make is they brought JD back for a reason. They drafted Brian Robinson for a reason. What those specific outcomes and those reasons will be remain to be seen, man. But it didn't just happen. They didn't just say, oh shit, let's just draft Brian Robinson because we have nobody else to draft and let's just take a running back. They looked at their situation, they assessed their running back room, and they said, we need to get another guy for whatever that is, man. So I still like him. I've said this for months, Jay. How many months have I been saying I still like Gibson? I still think he's going to be the lead back. That's what I think. But reading the tea leaves and everything else is going on around it, probably a good chance they use multiple backs this season, and it ends up disappointing us to some degree. And the big thing that I'm saying, remember I said follow the money? Vegas is already
Yeah.
moving his lines down. Like they're like, something
We don't know about
isn't
this,
adding up.
right? Yeah.
Something's not adding up. So,
Yep.
Love Sig, that was, his opinion to an article. And I tend to agree, man. We'll see. It's just, it won't shock me if it ends up happening. Now, Jay, we've completely forgotten about 2020. We don't even talk about the 2022 rookies anymore. Just
No.
Treylon Burks' ADP falling like a rock. Look how quickly that happened. We're looking ahead, 2023, right? I'm stomping the Gibby bus for you, Ray. I'm trying. I don't know what to do, Joe.
Where there's smoke, there's fire, man. That's just. I mean, you look at we see this all the time in the NFL, and yes, it could be a smoke screen. But when
don't kick me off the bus.
Joe
kicked me off on my show. She flat out kicked me. She said she's stopping the day. Joe, I thought
she is the bus driver, though. That's to be fair. She's the bus driver.
Get your ass off the bus.
Better not cross that yellow line.
Jay, okay. 2023 is what we're looking ahead to, right? We're kind of done with the 2022 rookies, and none of them are good. They're all hurt, they're fat, out of shape, all kinds of stuff. No, I'm just kidding. 2022, good. There's some good rookies in there. But 2023, and Matt Miller, ESPN, put out a mock draft yesterday. I think it was yesterday, day before yesterday. His first round predictions of 2023. And we're going to talk about this, man. We're going to talk about this. So we kind of discussed it in our Discord yesterday. There's a little bit of discourse, Jay, you weren't in there, about the teams that were in the top 10, in particular the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah. People were like, there's no way Pittsburgh's going to be that bad. No way Pittsburgh is going to be that bad. And then you go to DraftKings, you look at the roster, you look at the non-upgrades they made, and then you look at the teams outside the top 10, and I'm like, well, who's going to be worse than them? And I think there's a good chance, and this is no indictment on Mike Tomlin. He's a Hall of Fame coach, winning record every year he's been there, but all good things must come to an end. And when you've got Mitch Trubisky as your quarterback and you draft Kenny Pickett and you don't improve your offensive line and your defense gets older and weaker and slower, probably a good chance you're not going to finish super high. So we'll see what happens with the Pittsburgh Steelers, but let's just go through it, Jay. Go ahead and I'll start us off. I'll give us the first 5 picks, and then I'm going to let you get to the good stuff, right? So Matt Miller projects the New York Jets to have the number 1 pick, and they take Will Anderson, defensive end out of Alabama. That's the only non-offensive skill position I'm going to talk about, right? Will Anderson, beast, would have probably been the number 1. If Trayvon Walker was the number 1 pick this year, Will Anderson would have been locked in like months in advance. You would have known that pick months before the draft. But they've got Chicago at 2. And the Chicago Bears, with the number 2 overall pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, select Jackson Smith-Njigba, wide receiver from Ohio State, Houston defense, Jacksonville defense, and the Atlanta Falcons at number 5 overall. They take the first of 6 quarterbacks in this mock, and they take Ohio State gunslinger C.J. Stroud at number 5 overall. So JSN 2 to pair with Justin Fields in Chicago, the highest drafted wide receiver since Calvin Johnson in 2007.
Really?
Yes, he would be the highest drafted wide receiver since Calvin Johnson in 2007. And then CJ Stroud pairs up with Kyle Pitts and Drake London to make beautiful magic in Atlanta for the Falcons. All right, Jay. Pittsburgh went defense. You're up. Carolina, Detroit, Seattle, and the Giants are the next 4 picks. What did they do, Jay?
We have 4 straight quarterbacks. Carolina taking Bryce Young out of Alabama. Detroit taking Will Levis out of Kentucky. Seattle taking Jaron Hall out of BYU. Ray, you're going to need your help with the analysis on that one. And Tyler Van Dyke to the New York Giants. 4 straight quarterbacks, Ray. How would you rank them in these situations right now looking at them? How do you feel about these guys?
All right, so Bryce Young to Carolina, I like it. Will Levis to Detroit, I love it. Jaron Hall to Seattle. We'll see, man.
Not there yet.
We'll see. He's got talent, man. He's not the biggest guy, but I say that, and then you look at Bryce Young, he's not the biggest guy either.
Yeah.
He's mobile. He's got good arm. I don't think his arm is like Zach Wilson coming out of BYU. Zach Wilson's arm is, you say what you want about him, there's no denying how damn good Zach Wilson can just sling the ball. I don't know about Jaren Hall in Seattle. Feels like a Seahawks pick. Levis, and let me just read what Matt Miller said about Will Levis. Levis might no longer be a sleeper. He has entered the household conversation this summer. He has many fans in the NFL thanks to his size, 6'3", 232 pounds, arm strength, and gunslinger style of play. Of the top 3 quarterbacks, he might have the most well-rounded skill set as a thrower, scrambler, and designed runner. Levis has to cut down on interceptions. He had 13 last season, but his 33 total touchdowns, including 9 on the ground, have evaluators intrigued to see another season. This is what I keep saying. He's big, he's athletic, he's got a cannon of an arm. Him paired with Jamison Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, DeAndre Swift, TJ Hawkinson. Let me start my Madden franchise off with the Lions, man. With a good, like building a great offensive line.
5.
I like it. I like it for Levis. Young with Carolina. Good for DJ Moore. Good for CMC. Good for Terrace Marshall. Good for any receiver that comes in there. Tyler Van Dyke to the Giants. I don't know, man. PFF put out something yesterday that said he's like going to be like Justin Herbert.
Well, it's Mario Cristobal. Mario Cristobal's talks about he's like Tyler Van Dyke feels like what we had with Justin Herbert in 2019 when he was in there at Oregon, right? Mario Cristobal obviously coached him at Oregon. We'll see, man. I think it's a good fit. I think Tyler Van Dyke going to New York is a good fit, right?
Yeah.
I think he would actually fit in really well there. You know, obviously he's huge, massive arm. It's just, again, a statue guy. Throwing to who, right? Throwing to Kadarius Toney, Wan'Dale Robinson, Kenny Golladay if he's there. I think they need to add probably another guy, and then I guess we'll see what happens to Saquon Barkley, right? Saquon Barkley, well, I think his contract ends, I think, after next season, not this season, because they did pick up his option. But yeah, I mean, that's the problem with Van Dyke, because I think that they need more guys around him, and we'll have to see how they should. I think as much as I love, Wan'Dale Robinson, Kadarius Toney, like we need to see what they actually look like in this new offense, right? And then they still need a guy kind of outside the bullet top off the defense. So Van Dyke, I think, would be fine there, but I don't think it's the best fit. But I want to ask you, though, you can talk about Van Dyke if you want. I know you're not the biggest fan of Van Dyke right now, but how do you feel about Stroud versus Young in those two offenses, right? Obviously, Stroud to Atlanta at 5, and then Bryce Young to Carolina. They'd be playing against each other a lot, which would be a lot of fun to see for us.
Yeah, that would be fun to see. I like Stroud. I like Stroud a little more. A little more. I want to talk about Levis real quick because there are a lot of analysts, and the main thing that I see is they talk about his average depth of target, like he didn't throw the ball down the field a lot. Listen, folks, I'm going to just say this, and I'll tell any analyst, like this shit doesn't have, like you look at him, 6'3", 232, could probably throw from goalpost to goalpost. He's mobile, he's charismatic, and he's doing it in the SEC.
Yeah.
This doesn't have to be like, say what you want about his average depth of target and all that other bullshit that you want to talk about. Like it's right there in front of your face. If he goes out there and does not face palm this season, plays well, they probably don't have Chris Rodriguez at Kentucky. There is no Wan'Dale Robinson there. He plays well in the SECs, get games against Georgia, Florida.
Yeah.
He plays well in the SEC. He's going to be a first-round pick. Like, that's just what's going to happen. This isn't Nevada and broken knees Carson Strong, who's immobile. This is like, it's exactly what I envisioned, like the rise for Zach Wilson. Nobody thought Zach Wilson would be the number 2 overall pick going into 2020. It's 6'3", 232, goalpost to goalpost, athletic, charismatic, SEC. Let's not overthink what's probably going to happen with Will Levis. Van Dyke, I don't know. We'll see. All right. The Dolphins take the first running back, which, no surprise, Bijan Robinson to Miami. The Tennessee Titans take a wide receiver at 14. Jordan Addison, the newly acquired USC Trojans wide receiver, Biletnikoff Award winner from Pittsburgh. And people, you ready for this? Eggplant emoji. Get excited. Jay, how high would this player go in tight end premium leagues? The Cincinnati Bengals, according to Matt Miller, select Notre Dame tight end Michael Mayer at number 15 to pair him with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins,
Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon.
That would be...
He would be so good there, but how many...
Would be nuts. That would be nuts.
But
be
the
nuts.
available targets on that offense is where you're like, man, he'd be so good.
Jay,
but
we can't get into it today. If T. Higgins balls this year, he's going to want to be paid like a top 5 wideout. Yep. Is Cincinnati going to put $200+ million into the two wide receivers? Because Chase is getting, when Chase is up, he's getting the highest paid contract. They do have a 5th-year option on Chase. They don't have that with Higgins. They could franchise T. Higgins, but then you've got a decision because you can't do that. Like, you'd have to franchise him and then pay Jamar Chase the next year. Neither here nor there. They draft Michael Mayer, top 15 to this offense, tight end premium leagues. People would take him over Tyler Van Dyke. I bet you people would take him over Van Dyke, man. I bet, like, people would be like, I don't want that. He goes to Cincinnati, eggplant emoji. It's nice. Let's keep going a little bit. We got to go. Go ahead. Your New England Patriots. Okay, so we had some defenders go off the board to Philly and the Vegas Raiders. New England's up at 18. I'm like,
Ray, just say you're mad. Just say you're mad.
I love it. I love it. Who did New England draft at 18? I love it.
Wide receiver out of LSU, Kayshon Boutte. Ray?
Yes.
Ray?
Yes.
I don't know, man.
It's gonna put your New England can't draft wide receivers to the test. If they take Boutte, him and Mac Jones.
Do you think he's gonna be there? Just real quick. Do you think he's gonna be there 18?
I think there's a chance because we still don't know what Kayshon is. He's gonna be a first round pick. He can go out there and 100%. Play every game. He can go out there and play 2 games. He might not play any games. He's awesome.
So my question for you though is because I see a lot of parallels here. I think he could end up like Derek Stingley. Not at number 3 overall, but how Derek Stingley was freshman phenom, sucked second year, was okay third year.
Oh God, we're doing this already. We're already playing it. There's no way he's sliding that far. And then we just said that this year. Man. Do we not learn our goddamn lesson every year? Well, there's no way this is going to happen.
This is quarterbacks. Like, we saw Chris Olave go 11th overall. J-Mo went 12th overall.
We don't know what's going to happen. We'll see.
I think it's worth pointing out, too, it's a very good defensive draft. It's not just the offensive players. The defensive draft
This defensive draft is stupid good.
You'll see them go really high.
Good. Yes.
So 18, I think, is fine. You could go higher. I hate you know me, man. I don't want anybody. I would love Mac Jones to get a receiver. Let me put it in perspective. For them to not work out.
This defensive draft, I'm just looking at names, bro. Keely Ringo, Jalen Carter, Brian Brees, Miles Murphy, Cam's like Henry To'oTo'o. Like this draft, defensively, the players that we have are really good. All right, let's keep going. We gotta get through the first round. All right. Minnesota at 21, they replaced Adam Thielen with North Carolina wide receiver Josh Downs. Really like that a lot. Love that for Downs. Love that for Cousins. Really like it for Justin Jefferson as well. The next offensive player doesn't come off of the board until 27-28. Who we got, Jay? 27-28.
Anthony Richardson, quarterback out of Florida, to the Indianapolis Colts. I don't really love the fit, honestly. I think it'd be interesting to see him there,
man. I said that too.
I don't really love the fit. And then we'll close out the I think that's it for offensive players.
Wait,
with Jermaine Burton to Detroit.
Jermaine Burton.
Yeah, at 28. Jermaine Burton to Detroit at 28. That would be, bro, could you imagine taking Will Levis, throwing in Jamison Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jermaine Burton, TJ Hawkinson, DeAndre Swift, the top 5 offensive line.
Nuts.
That is an offense. That is an offense, right? And I'm expecting Burton to be really good in this year for Alabama with Bryce Young, but we'll see. He may not be the J-Mo replacement as it was Kuiper who had the other guy as a replacement who could be very good as well. But I think it's Richardson is the clear guy. I'm like, it's not that I don't like the talent, it's the fit. I don't like the fit in Indy. I don't think it makes sense.
What? The only reason Tavon Walker went 1 is because the best QB was Kenny Pickett. So Jacksonville was going to take a quarterback? What are we talking about? Maybe I missed something in the conversation. I got to talk about my Dallas Cowboys. They took Noah Sewell, linebacker from Oregon. I love it. Let Dallas take Noah Sewell. Love it. Get us a big old school linebacker. Just big downhill, 250-pound linebacker. All right, Jay, let's Anthony Richardson, we kind of glossed over that. Florida probably I don't think it's probably the most athletically gifted quarterback in this class as far as
Yeah,
running and
100%.
but he's probably the one that's needs the most work throwing the football is Anthony Richardson. What would you think about Anthony Richardson in Indy with Michael Pittman, with that offensive line, with Jonathan Taylor, and
Well,
probably sitting behind Matt Ryan for another season, right?
yeah, well, I think Ray, where I'm a little bit hesitant in some ways
That's a
is
lot
that
of
where he
assumptions. He said I'm assuming someone would have traded up for one. Maybe. Maybe.
So I think the good thing there is that he wouldn't have to be a gunslinger, right? There's still a run first offense. So in a lot of ways, if he was starting early, a lot of it would be handing the ball off, but he does have to read the defenses. He just have to communicate with the offensive line. And if he's not great at that aspect of football, they could struggle. Obviously, Matt Ryan, super veteran, longtime starter, understands the game of football to the highest order, but he would need to develop in that aspect too. But I think if he was to come in midseason and play, there wouldn't be a ton of pressure for him to do all that kind of stuff. Like you look almost like Trey Lance, right? When Trey Lance came in, he did throw the ball, but at the end of the day, San Francisco's still a run first offense. And then a lot of times they can just run down teams' throats to win games. And I could see a similar type of style of play, but Richardson needs a lot more development than even Lance does. And so I think that's where I really
Yeah.
struggle with this pick is that as much as I like him, he has to show a lot this year, and then he has to develop even further in the NFL. And so that's kind of the biggest problem. But I think if you were to put him in a system, good offensive line, run first offense, won't be asked to do a ton, even when he is the starter down the line. I think that's a good fit for a guy who may be a projection 2 or 3 years down the line. And if he hits, obviously you have a guy that when that time comes, they can draft pass catchers for him and develop that offense further. Because even with just Michael Pittman right now, it's not a great offense to work with. Like it's a good offense to run the ball, but to actually be imagine if Anthony Richardson went out there and all he had was Michael Pittman. You know, it's good enough for a great quarterback, but for a quarterback that isn't that
Yeah.
accurate, it's not the best, right? You don't have as many separators as you'd like on there. And especially with Michael Pittman, he's great, but he's not going to be the guy that's going to get a ton for you, especially for a guy who's not overly accurate. I think it's just a puzzling fit. But the one guy we glossed over a little bit is Jordan Addison from USC. And how you feel about him in Tennessee. Because one of the big points that Miller made, which is kind of funny, is talking about how Treylon Burks is struggling in offseason practices and minicamp. But his bigger point was they need more bodies there at the wide receiver position. You can't replace A.J. Brown with one guy, and having both those guys would definitely bolster that offense, whether it's Malik Willis or Ryan Tannehill at quarterback.
It's interesting, right? Because they're two totally different wide receivers, man. Like two totally like body styles, play styles. Jordan Addison is more of the Devonta Smith clone, 6', 170. Treylon Burks is more in the AJ Brown kind of mold, right? The bigger body wide receiver yak guy. He cites the struggles so far in off-season practices, which I'm not panicked yet, but hopefully he gets the weight and stuff under control by the time training camp comes. But I think the bigger point is, Robert Woods, he's on the back nine of his career. Still a very good player, should be really productive this year, but they probably do need another wide receiver. Does this make you think that there's any, and it's June 29th. We're looking at a mock draft that doesn't come out for a year right today. But would this signify that they didn't take a quarterback at 14, right? They didn't take Leary, they didn't take Richardson. They went with Addison. We know that I believe Tennessee can get out of Tannehill's contract after this season.
They will get out. Yeah, they will get out. He's got one of the highest cap hits in the league right now. Yeah, it's interesting, right? But I think the bigger point is, remember, there's 5 quarterbacks in the top 10, right? Yeah, 5 quarterbacks went in the top 10, or at least 4 did. So how many guys are left, right? It was really just Anthony Richardson who was left at the back of the first round. But I do like the fit. And my comp would actually be closer to Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton is kind of the way I would mold those two guys together. The play style is a little different for Burks and Sutton, but I think that's kind of how I would look at the two from an offensive standpoint and how they'd be utilized. Both are great, but I mean, you need a quarterback there, whether it's Malik Willis, whether it's Tannehill. Do they bring Tannehill back on a cheaper deal? Maybe. Is Malik the answer? I don't know, but I like Addison there because I think he can be that intermediate guy that Woods would have been young, like earlier in his career, but now
Yeah.
he's going to be more of an exclusive slot, short route guy, quickness, third down, all that kind of stuff. But Addison can really be that guy who can go deep, but also is great in the intermediate as well.
All right, top 5 super flex. If you get these 6 quarterbacks,
Oh man,
would you take, like, let me just ask this. Would it go Bijan Robinson and then all 6 quarterbacks? If they're all first round picks in Superflex, would it be Bijan Robinson 101 followed by all 6 quarterbacks back to back to back to back to back? Would you do
No.
that? Would that be
No.
the case? Okay.
No, I don't think so. I don't think that I would take Jaron Hall in the top 6, and I don't think I would take Tyler Van Dyke in the top 6 either.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would rather have JSN, especially drafted 2nd overall. If he actually does go 2nd overall, it'd be difficult to not take him right behind, CJ Stroud and Bryce Young. And then Will Levis, you could definitely make a case for. I think he would bump into that, maybe not tier 1, but tier 2.
Who is
and
that?
then
I'm
you'd have
sorry.
another tier.
You said
Will
Levis?
Yeah. Like Levis would be right there with the top quarterbacks, right? I think the situation, and especially if they get Jermaine Burton on top of that, you still have Bijan at the top. But I think right after that, you'd have to have JSN if he goes number 2 overall. Like at that point, the investment in him, I mean, you've seen the guys that have gone top 5 and what they've done in their first season. It'd be crazy. And especially because, he does have a slight connection with Justin Fields, right, out of Ohio State. They're familiar with each other. So there is that. It's small. It's small because they didn't play together a lot. But they do have that minor connection there that I would think could be translated into
what's the top 5?
I think you put the quarterbacks. I think it's just who is 5,
It's
right?
Bijan,
it'd be
Stroud,
JSN would be 5 for me.
Young,
Bijan, Stroud, Young, Levis, and then JSN for me.
Levis, JSN. So you would take okay.
Yeah, I think you'd have to, if he goes 2 overall. I think you have to have JSN in your top 5.
Mike came around. Mike said Bijan, Stroud, Young, JSN, Levis, Mayer. Round 2 running back, Addison. Round 2 running back, Downs, Van Dyke, Hall. Where's Boutte at? Where's Boutte?
Yeah, you're definitely missing Boutte there. Boutte would have to be probably. Would you put him ahead of Addison?
Yes. Yeah. I think Boutte
so
is a better receiver. And with Mac Jones, I think it's a better situation than Jordan Addison in Tennessee. I think he just missed it. He said, my bad. Yeah, I'd take Boutte over Addison. But what's interesting is none of those other running backs, no A-Chain, no Sean Tucker, no Jameer Gibbs.
But that makes sense. Not first round, right? They're not going to be first round picks. There's no way. It's Bijan and that's it. Who's going to go in the first round? But I think to your point is how do they fit in here? Is that 2nd round running back? Is that, is it Jameer Gibbs at like 7 or 8 overall?
I kind of like this little list, so let's leave it back up. Let's just say Jameer Gibbs is a top 40 pick. Would you take Gibbs over Mayer? And just give him a good situation. Give him a good. Where did we want to see a running back go last year that they didn't do it? Where did we want to see give Gibbs?
Miami was one of them, right? Miami was one of them.
No homerism. There was a mock the other day that had the Dallas Cowboys selecting Jameer Gibbs. So let's give a Zeke replacement.
Oh, no.
I
want him to get Tank Bigsby, man. I want him to get Tank.
Let's give him a good offense, and I don't even know if that's a good offensive situation with that O-line. But let's give Gibbs to Dallas in round 2. Where would you put Gibbs at here? Like, and I'm just looking at this list because it's a list already.
I'd probably put him back of the first. I'd probably put him ahead of Downs. I mean, I don't really like the spot for Downs there. I'd probably bump Downs a little bit, but I think he'd be that 2nd running back, behind Addison. I don't think I'd put him behind Mayer. I think there's probably a better situation out there. But because the thing with Gibbs is I can't project him to be the starting running back for any team right now. He might be, but for his size, we just don't necessarily expect him to be the starting running back. Like, even if he was in Dallas, I think Pollard would be the starting running back. If it was Pollard and Gibbs, I think we probably see Pollard with a larger share of carries than Gibbs.
Gibbs is better than Pollard. I'm just telling you that straight up. He's better than Tony Pollard. The Mayer one is interesting because in tight end premium leagues and that offense, that's a good spot.
That's a good spot.
That's a good
Really
spot.
good spot.
That's a good spot.
Right?
Yeah. It's gonna be fascinating, man, because somebody said, first of all, Hayden, yes, dynasty managers are getting soft and panic selling in June. I think I saw something where Traylon's ADP on Keep Trade Cut went from like 17 to 26.
Oh, damn.
Over the summer. Over this past summer, over May, June. It's going to be fascinating to watch this play out because there are a lot of good players. They're like even Sean Tucker. What if he goes to a great spot in round 3? How high would managers?
Yep.
And that's my concern. I've got Sean Tucker as a top 3 running back in the class, but I've also been very just aware and alert that he plays at Syracuse. How's the NFL going to value? Like they just do stupid shit, man. Syracuse running back with, and Gibbs is about to go stupid at Alabama. Like I am a
1,500, 25
I'm an
touchdowns.
adopted Roll Tide fan because I just appreciate dominant teams being dominant. And I can't think of a running back with his skill set that they've had in the last 10 years, man. Like, and I'm going,
it's literally just Alvin Kamara, and he never played there.
I'm back to I'm thinking the running back Alabama that starts off for me is like Glenn Coffey days. Glenn Coffey, Derrick Henry, Mark Ingram, Damian Harris, Bo Scarborough, Jace McClellan. They haven't had somebody like this. Not like this.
It'd probably be Kenyon Drake would be close, right? But he wasn't a primary back though.
And he wasn't
when they had Drake, they had Kamara, they had Jacobs.
Kamara
those
would
are
have
kind
been
of the guys
but Kamara transferred. Yeah, he would have been that guy, but he transferred. So
Drake's probably the closest, I think, from who actually played there. But Kamara,
and then that's not even close either. Like he's gonna smash this year. So I just want to read this. All I'll say is imagine being able to get a QB like Anthony Richardson in the second. See, I don't think if Richardson is good enough to get drafted in round 1, I don't think he's going to fall that far. Like, I don't think managers, I think we'll see 6'4", 235 pounds, running a 4.6 with a big arm. And it's the same. If you were in on Malik Willis, here's my thing. If you were in on Malik Willis at 102, then there's no way in hell you should let Anthony Richardson fall to the second round, right? Like, even if he's the 27th pick in the NFL draft, because at least he's struggling or doing it in the SEC opposed to doing it at Liberty. He's got prototypical size. If you were in on Malik Willis at 102 in Superflex, I want to pull up that damn list again. There's no way you could let a player like Anthony Richardson be drafted behind Van Dyke. Like, I'd take him over Van Dyke, Downs, the second round running back, Addison. I think Anthony Richardson would be right there in that 106, 108 range if he's a first round pick.
Really?
He's got to be, man. You were fine with taking taking Sam Howell and Desmond Ridder and Malik Willis in the top 5. And you don't want Anthony Richardson?
Well, that's one point, but I think, there's also the psychology, but it's the psychology of, well, how did that work out for us, right? How did that go? How did that work out for us, right? It didn't work out so good. So maybe people will be like, oh shit, maybe I shouldn't be taking these super raw prototype quarterbacks, and I should be taking the guys who have very high draft capital, like, a Mac Jones, who's going to play, has great mechanics, can throw the ball. And so that may be the correction that we see this offseason is Anthony Richardson, as talented as he is, he's raw. He needs to work on his game. He may go very high in the draft. That doesn't mean that he's ready to play for you in your first season, right? And he's not Trey Lance. Like, I can say what I want about Trey Lance and how he's super raw, but Trey Lance is way better than Anthony Richardson is right now. Way better, and was way better when he was coming out of North Dakota State. So I think that's a big aspect of it too, is that we may see a correction from we love the rushing quarterbacks, but we want a guy who's going to play and has a good shot of playing well over a guy who's super raw, needs a year to really develop all these things. So I think that's where we may see a bit of a correction in the market this year.
And that correction will be the wrong process because the thing is, here's the issue that managers got in 2022. It was everyone who did their rookie drafts before the NFL draft, because if you waited until after the NFL draft and the draft capital sorted out, you never would have taken those guys that high, right? So we're making this assumption based on the result of him getting first round draft capital. If Malik Willis was drafted, if he were drafted in round 1, he still would have gone that high. He would have.
Yeah, 100%.
It's the fact that he didn't get drafted round 1. So we're already eliminating that from the equation by saying Richardson will be a first-round pick based on the exercise, right? Richardson is going to get first-round draft capital. If Malik and Sam Howell and Desmond Ridder, for that matter, were drafted anywhere inside of round 1, You had people saying that, listen, there are people saying that you need to draft Kenny Pickett inside the top 5, and he was the 20th pick. If these guys go round 1, there's no way Richardson's falling outside of the top 6 or 7. Like, it's just, that would not be the right process. You can't look at the result of 2022 saying, oh, look how that worked out for us, without leaving off the most important piece, which was Sam Howell was a 5th-round pick, Malik and Ritter were 3rd-round picks. You can't have that conversation without referencing that. We've already eliminated that. So if you want to take Jordan Addison over Anthony Richardson, be my guest. And if there are any quarterbacks that fall outside of round 1, it's going to be Van Dyke, because he is by far the most immobile of all the quarterbacks. He's a statue in the pocket.
Yeah.
Like, he's got pocket mobility, but he gives you 0 on the ground. So if I were going to bank on any of those quarterbacks going 112, 201, 202, it'd be Tyler Van Dyke. Even at the number 10 overall pick, it'd be Van Dyke. But it's just interesting to see the names start to talk about some of the players who could be in this class. And then there's a lot of guys that we didn't talk about. Devin Leary, Cam Rising. I think Jameer Gibbs, after he smashes at Alabama, will be a 1st-round pick. I think he'll go back in the 1st round. I think he's going to go back around 1. He's going to smash at epic levels. Like, he is going to kill at Alabama.
He will, yeah.
I think Gibbs is going to be a 1st-round pick. I like the wide receivers that they have in this group. One wide receiver that's not here that potentially could make their way in also plays at Alabama, and that's Tyler Harrell. And we've talked about Tyler Harrell. The pathway to him is Jameson Williams. 4-2 guy with Bryce Young, puts up monster numbers and an unproven receiving core. Tyler Harrell will probably be a 1st-round pick. There's a couple of other guys that may pop. We got Eric Gilbert. He wasn't in this mock at tight end. If Michael Mayer's good enough to be the 15th overall pick, then Eric Gilbert will be a top 32 pick in the NFL draft. So that adds another player to put in that mix. Get excited for 2023. Acquire those picks. Get excited about the rookies, because from just a talent skill level, last year we were talking about Strong and Rattler and Malik Willis. This year we're talking about Stroud and Mayer and Bijan and Gibbs and Boutte and JSN and Addison. Like, it's awesome, man. It's exciting as hell, and we will have you covered. Again, college football is a big part of what we do, so we'll be following this shit every week. I'm doing stuff with the Draft Network, so talking about this, like, there's going to be so much draft content coming your way on this channel. That's what it's going to be, so we appreciate you tapping into the show. Anything else we're missing, Jay? What we got popping off on Friday for the people?
Friday, we'll do the wide receiver prop show. And so we'll talk about that, talk about the prize picks lines we like, receptions, touchdowns, all that stuff. But Ray, make sure we get to the super chats before we get out of here today.
Yep. Super chats. How many were there? I only saw 1. Did I miss any? I only saw 1. We don't get them any. You don't get paid anymore, man.
I think there was 2 or 3, to be honest.
I got another one. Here we go. I got it. I'm just getting it. I was too into the show. There were two. All right. Let's get it. All right, here we go. Super chat right here. Tyson says Gibson plus a 2025 second or 224 first. Oh, man.
I'm taking the first. It's not hard for me. Give me the first.
I'm taking the first.
24 is a good class too.
Random first. Give me the 224 first in that one. I would take that as well. All right, and the last one we got right here. On a contender, would you move JK and a 23 first for Kyle Pitts? My RBs are Alvin Kamara, Najee, Dalvin, Mixon, Javonte, JK. Good Lord. My tight ends are Kelsey and Schultz. Is this an 8-team league? These dudes loaded. How's he have these damn running backs? And he's got Kelsey and Schultz.
I guess so. What's the difference between Kelsey and
I probably would not. I don't think I
want to do that.
I don't think I would.
Feel great about it.
I think I'm fine with Kelsey and Schultz.
Would you do Kelsey in a 23 first for Pitts and keep JK?
I just don't know why he has to do this.
Yeah,
like with this,
I don't get why people are buying Kyle Pitts. Your tight end room is great. There's no point.
What do you mean you don't know why people are buying Kyle Pitts? He's awesome, man. He's 22-year-old phenom, right?
But you could probably draft Michael Mayer with that first round pick.
I just don't know why he has to do that. Like I know it would make his roster like look better, but he's solid at tight end. That's a good team.
Yeah.
I
wouldn't bother.
I can understand it. Get off of JK and only a 20. That's probably as cheap. I'll just say this. It's as cheap as I've seen Kyle Pitts go for. I don't know the league settings. I don't know any of that, but
Has to be a
bad
10
need J.K. Dobbins and 123 first for Pitts. Yeah, load it up. I mean, I don't know how many flex positions you get to start. He's good at tight end. Just do it. Like, I just don't know why he has to. His team is good, but that's pretty damn cheap, man. It's pretty. Jay said it's unnecessary. Joe said it's unnecessary. Like, with that team, I know that's as cheap as you'll get Pitts, but that's as cheap as you'll get Pitts. You probably got to do it. Like on first glance, it's like, why do that? But I haven't J.K. Dobbins in a first for Pitts. We just saw trades yesterday, Jay, were 3-4 first round picks for Kyle Pitts, and all he has to do is give up. All he's got to do is give up one. Go do it. Like unnecessary, but you got an embarrassment of riches. So just go do it. Just do it.
That's a good point, actually. Todd just said this. He said you're not going to play Pitts or JK on that team. Like, would you, like, Ray, for you, if this is a lineup league, are you playing Kyle Pitts over Travis Kelce? I don't think I am.
Even if you're not, though, here's the thing. Even you're going to start Kelce over both of those tight ends every week. Mm-hmm. But once Kelce's done or Kelce gets hurt, like you got all the tight ends. You got 3 of the top 8 tight ends. And Pitts is a luxury, but it's cheap, man. It's super cheap. So just do it. Like, that's, again, the lowest I've seen any offer for Kyle Pitts. And I'm convinced it's an 8-team league. Where's he at? How many teams is in this league? I need to know before we get out of here. How many teams in this damn league? Because this team is too loaded. His team is too loaded, man. His team is so good. Go get Pitts. It's cheap. Have him, Kelce, Schultz. Good question, man. Way to talk through that. Unnecessary advantage. Way to go. Way to go. All right.
Pretty much, yeah.
All right. That's it. Appreciate y'all tapping in the show. Comment, subscribe, comment for the algorithm, like and subscribe for that aspect of it, and make sure y'all tap in on Friday so we can talk these wide receiver props because they still have these rookies ridiculously high. If you want some free money, you got to get on Prize Picks and hammer the unders on some of these props for these rookie wide receivers. But we'll tap into all that tomorrow. Make it great. Yes, Lindsey Mack. No, I love y'all, man. Mike A., thank you. Good show. Joe said Joe, we normally stop at 7:45. It's 8 o'clock. Sure. Joe said, give me another 10. And plus, I don't want to talk to Joe anymore. She already kicked me off the Antonio Gibson bus. We'll try again on Friday, Joe. We're no longer friends for the last minute. Come back on Friday so we can be friends again. Y'all know I love you, man. We out of this thing. Peace.